If you can kind of hear that buzzing noise right now. Fan's not starting and it's making this buzzing noise like it wants to spin. It's just not spinning right now. If you've got an AC compressor that's not spinning up outside, making a lot of buzzing noises, I've got a possible fix for you, so stay tuned. Welcome back to the channel, everyone. Today I've been working on the AC unit outside the house. Right now I'm having a problem where it's buzzing and not spinning. I know it's the capacitor because what I've done is I actually have two outside units. So I've actually taken the capacitor out of the bad unit right here and stuck it in the other unit, swapped the capacitors. This unit would spin up. So I put it back to how it was. So I'm going to show you how to change out the capacitor inside the outside unit. So let's get to it. So the first thing you want to do before you even touch the outside unit is find your quick disconnect outside, and you need to disconnect all the power to the unit. You do not want to be messing with these capacitors as they do hold the charge even. So even when it's shut off, you need to be extra careful about touching the capacitors. So outside here, I've got two shutoffs. I know this one right here, I followed the wire, goes over to the bad unit. So what you first thing you do is you open up this box, just slides open like this. So right here is this little lever here, or lever or tab. You want to just pull it straight out. Sometimes you got to wiggle it just a little bit and it comes right out. Now the unit should be completely dead outside. If you're unsure of how to do any of this, just contact an electrician or an HVAC company. So over here on the AC unit, you have the actual access panel right here. There's two bolts that actually hold this panel in place, and you might have to loosen two bolts up top. This is on my unit. I have a Carrier unit. Your unit might be a little bit different. So I'm using a 5/16 socket to actually undo these bolts. Don't lose the screws, set them up top carefully. Then this panel should slide down, just like that. Now inside the panel, you've got a whole bunch of your control panel and whatnot. And right here is what we're working with here. This is the actual capacitor. This is what is bad in my unit right here. So we're going to swap this capacitor out. First thing we need to do is we need to disconnect everything. Just be careful touching the terminals on here. We just want to pull these tabs off. But make note, on my unit, I've got a fan, a Herm for hermetic compressor, and a common back here is yellow. So common is yellow on my unit, blue is the Herm, and brown is the fan. Make sure you make note of what color wire goes to which terminal, that is important when you put it all back together. So right now we're going to take this out. Just carefully lift this up and out of place. It should slide out relatively easy. You might have to loosen this strap. Mine was loose. And then I just pull these little tabs right off like that. So now that we have this out, we're going to check the sticker on the actual capacitor, and we want to make sure we match this up correctly to the new one. So we're going to head to Ace Hardware right now, as they do have these in stock. Lowe's and Home Depot don't typically have these in stock, but Ace seems to have these. So right now I'm looking for a 45+5 capacitor. This is a dual capacitor as it boots up the hermetic compressor and the fan in the unit. So we're going to run to Ace Hardware right now and match this up with what they have. So you want to look here at the 45.5 right there. So on the shelf here, you want to look for the 45.5 one right here. So that's the one we want right there. It's actually supposed to be right there. So it's 20 bucks. Not bad. Really easy to find right at Ace Hardware. So we just got back from Ace Hardware. We've got our new capacitor right here. Here's our old capacitor. This old capacitor we no longer need. We're just going to set that to the side. And we're going to break open the new capacitor. Don't worry if the size is slightly different. You're really worried about the actual rating on the actual capacitor. So that's what we're going for here. I still have the same terminals on top, Herm, fan, and common. So we're going to hook these back up just like we disconnected it. Yellow goes to common. Blue goes to Herm. And brown goes to fan. Again, these colors are for my system. Yours might be a little bit different, so make sure you write this down before you disconnect the original one. Set that back in place, and we'll go ahead and put the cover back on. This just slides up underneath, and then two screws hold it in place. Use the socket and tighten everything back up. And that's it. We're actually done replacing the capacitor. Now we're going to turn the power back on to the unit. So I've got the old capacitor here, and just to be clear, you'll see that there's multiple terminals on each one of these for fan, Herm, and common. It doesn't matter which terminal you actually connect the wire to in your unit. These are all the same for that terminal. So C on this one right here actually has 4 terminals sticking off of it. Fan has 2, and Herm actually has 3. Even though mine just had 1 wire connecting to each one, it doesn't matter which one you actually connect them to. They're all the same. You just want to make sure that you connect the correct wire to Herm, the correct wire to fan, and the correct wire to the common. So now that we have the AC condenser all back together, we want to turn the power back onto the unit. To do that, we just take this terminal, and on mine it actually says off and on here. You want to make sure on is pointed up. You want to make sure that these copper terminals right here actually slide into the copper terminals in there. That's what makes the connection and bridges the power across to the unit. So you want to carefully slide this in here and just give it a nice push in. And my unit just kicked on right now, right away. Close the box up. You should be done at this point. Go check the unit, see if it's running. As soon as I plugged the power back into this unit, it kicked right back on, just like this. Fan is blowing nice and strong. I can hear the compressor running inside the unit. So we're good to go. Now we'll just check the thermostat inside and just see if it starts lowering the temperature in the house. Alright everyone, that's going to be a wrap for this video. As you can see, the AC compressor is working outside now. The fan's blowing nice and strong. The compressor is running. So if you do have an AC unit that seems to be running in the house but it's not cooling the house, I would come outside, and the first thing you want to do is just make sure that this thing is actually running. If it's not running, you might have a bad capacitor. So as always, if this video was helpful, give it a big thumbs up. Please be sure to like, share, and subscribe. Smash that notification icon so you know when I do post future videos. And I'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.